Welcome to another edition of TSA Safety Matters. I'm your host, Greg Kerr from Stakeholder Relations, and today we're with John Marshall, TSA's Fuels Director, for a few thoughts on some issues or matters specific to fuels and TSA's approach to public safety. So thanks for being with us, John.
My pleasure, Greg.
Now, the Exchange site launched last week with the express purpose of sharing information in a new way to customers on our decisions and its application to safety. Now, have you had any kind of feedback from fuels folks or people in the industry on this that may have prompted this approach?
Absolutely, Greg. I think we've had a lot of feedback and interaction with some of our major stakeholders, and specifically the contractors in the fuel sector. And while they like the fuels newsletter update that we provide on an annual basis, and it provides very good information for them, they're really looking for us to kind of up our game in terms of communication and provide them with some more real-time, appropriate information that is helpful to them in their sector to do their job better, because ultimately we're all looking for the same safety outcome here. And so anything we can do to help do that, it would be a good initiative for us to take. So this new initiative that TSSAA has launched will allow us to interact with the contractors on a more timely basis, give them real-time information that's appropriate to them.
Mm-hmm. And is there, I think there's a two-way function or a place they can...
Yes, the initiative is Ask TSSAA. It's I think I almost could characterize it like a chat site where you can have this two-way dialogue where perhaps I could initiate a dialogue on a particular issue that I think would be important to get out there, and then we can get real-time feedback from them and have this dialogue with the industry that can really benefit all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not quite a blog kind of format, but I think it probably will be very beneficial.
I think it will be, yes. And I think this is one of the major issues that the contractors have raised with us is can we find ways to communicate with them better.
Mm-hmm. And you'll have actually addresses such as this on a quarterly basis, probably.
Oh, absolutely. The plan is for us is to use this tool, I guess if I can call it that, to communicate with them and to get information out to them that is very timely, rather than wait for our annual newsletter to get that out. We can initiate a discussion at a moment's notice almost, and if there's something very important to get out there, this will give us a way to do that.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So are there any like pressing or important things that you'd like to discuss?
Well, I think the main things that we always like to talk about with our safety partners is certainly around compliance and those issues, and other safety matters that we would like to make them aware of out there. So, a recent incident came to mind where there was revolving a water heater, fuel-fired water heater, where there was a problem identified with the venting on that particular water heater, and the process started well in terms of the initial contractor issuing a warning tag to the homeowner and for certain repairs to be made to the venting. The problem where it kind of fell apart was the person doing the follow-up kind of just dropped the materials off and expected a homeowner to make a repair. And this is work that we look to professionals to do. We don't expect the homeowners to be doing venting and those kind of repairs. We want it done by a knowledgeable professional person. So unfortunately, we had a somewhat serious outcome in that this family was overcome, and specifically a 14-year-old girl was overcome with carbon monoxide, was hospitalized for a period of time, and fortunately it turned out well, but we really could have had a much different investigation and a much different outcome had this situation gone on a little longer. And so I think the message is that all of us safety partners must take our role seriously and make sure that we don't leave the customer in harm's way, and that contractors or those servicing the customers and the public have a duty and a responsibility to make sure that when they leave, it's left in a safe way.
Mm-hmm. And I guess there's a message that maybe even contractors could tell their customers
Oh, absolutely. You know, we really look to, you know, and TSSA has spent a lot of time and research into finding the best ways to communicate with the public. And so the contractors can really emphasize with their customers that you really need to have your equipment inspected and maintained by a professional, a qualified licensed technician by TSSA.
And certainly, you don't allow, like real friends don't allow friends to do stuff.
Exactly,
like this.
yeah. To have a neighbor, which is what happened in this case, come in and help you with the repair and reinitiate a fuel-fired appliance when you don't have the knowledge and the skills to do that correctly. In fact, that was the issue with this carbon monoxide exposure, is that the venting wasn't installed correctly. It failed and led to a potentially dangerous situation.
Now, you've had some success in other areas, in other fuel sectors. You've got increased compliance in one and a bit of a drop in another.
Yeah, you know, the overall compliance rate in the fuel sector right now is above 49%, but I need to put that in a bit of context because really it's broken down into different sectors. So for example, the propane sector right now, compliance rate is in the high 60s in terms of their percentage, and the liquid fuel sector, where we've just finished up some cleaning up of some backlog in terms of inspections, is somewhat lower because it's been some time since they've been visited. So clearly the inspection regime that TSSA has really leads to good positive compliance and safety outcomes. And we need to keep moving those operators forward in terms of compliance and keeping things up. So, but when you look at compliance, we really look at compliance as a kind of a binary issue. You either comply or you don't. Some non-compliances have a more serious impact than others. So, for example, we see about 17% of the non-compliant. The non-compliance rate's about 17% for major issues that we would see. And so I would say things like badly worn hoses, corroded piping and equipment, which can lead to some serious leaks, environmental impacts, and those kinds of things are very important. But a lot of the non-compliances are more of a low-risk housekeeping nature. Perhaps the grass hasn't been cut, or there's some things stored too close to tanks and things of that nature that are less serious in terms of what their outcomes would be, but nevertheless are non-compliant with the regulations.
But you've started to bring in a kind of almost risk analysis in that of the high risk, low risks.
Yes. So our risk management group here at TSSA has done a lot of work for us in terms of what we call an initiative called standardized orders that will help address consistency issues out there. So we have a number of different inspectors across the province who might have a slight different thought on particular clause or code clause. So these standardized orders will give them wording and clauses that they can use when they're issuing directives and non-compliances to the customer base. So we have some consistency, and then that will tie in with the analysis that the risk group does for the directors to provide us with information to help us allocate resources, look at new safety initiatives perhaps. So for example, that we in our last report we saw we have a bit of an emerging trend in terms of commercial establishments where we're thinking we're seeing some issues there that we'll monitor it for now, but it might be something where we'll have to allocate some resources going forward. So again, it's very useful information for us to help us best utilize our resources.
Yeah, and it's a smart way to do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you put the greater emphasis where it's required.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
Excellent. So John, do you have any other things that you want to tell customers or
well, I think that the main message I would like to get out there to customers and kind of involve our safety partners, i.e. the contractors here, is that we really want the customers to understand that they need to have proper inspections and maintenance of their fuel-fired equipment to keep themselves safe. And I don't think I can emphasize that enough, that we see Most of the occurrences we have, that, especially involving carbon monoxide, which is really our highest incident, our highest cause of incidents that TSSA investigates, happen in private homes during the utilization of the fuels. And unfortunately, TSSA doesn't have jurisdiction to enter private dwellings, so I really have to rely on other safety partners out there to help us get the message to homeowners to keep proper care of their equipment and have professionals look after their equipment.
And make sure that you are, abiding by the law and.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I mean, again, as I said a little earlier, everybody has to abide by the laws and the regulations with respect to the sector, but contractors at the end of the day are people who service fuel-fired equipment for their customers, have a responsibility to ensure when they leave that home that's left in a safe operating condition.
And they want the same thing too, right?
They really do. I think we're all after the same safety outcome here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for being with us, John. I'm sure we'll hear more
My
in the
pleasure.
future.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Stay tuned for more TSA Safety Matters.